Stories from practice. They told me all the details, so now I'll never look at minced meat the same way again. According to the girl, when she was heading for the emergency surgery, she could feel her intestines on her leg, pulsating. Incredible, but true. Awkward and funny moments. I had a friend in high school who was terrified of going to the gynecologist. When she finally decided to get her first smear, she was so nervous that she almost squeezed the doctor's legs like a vice. She said it took a while before she could relax and let the doctor do their job. But honestly, it was one of the most awkward moments of her life. Now she laughs about it, but her embarrassment about female organs has stayed with her. For example, she still can't use tampons properly. A med student and a shocking cancer case. I was a med student once and ended up assisting on an operation to remove a woman's uterus. They told us she had ovarian cancer, but during the surgery, we realized the situation was much worse. Her whole body was full of metastases. We spent 13 hours trying to shrink the tumors, although the surgery should have only taken about 3 hours. Some surgeons from other specialties even helped us at times. Usual cases in practice. Once, I had to remove a tampon that had been inside a woman for a whole month. And the strangest thing, she was still having sex. The smell was absolutely horrendous. After she left, we couldn't air the room out for hours. We all thought we might pass out. Strange and downright bizarre stories. My father once told me about a woman who was addicted to heroin. For some reason, she decided to inject herself in her labia, which, of course, led to gangrene. Definitely not worth it. When I was a student, I worked in gynecology. I remember a patient who had a giant tumor in her vaginal area. When we started the examination, it seemed like the worst bacterial vaginosis. But it turned out she just had horribly smelly feet. A very strange case, but harmless. Weird and downright weird life cases. I once heard about a woman who used a potato as a contraceptive. She inserted it into her vagina, and it started growing. Eventually, potato sprouts were sticking out of her. Looks horrifying, but it's a fact. About boobs and the ER. Once, when I was in high school, I was interning in the ER. A woman came in complaining of chest pain. She was quite overweight, and there was a terrible smell coming from her. My colleague and I decided to examine her. When he lifted one of her breasts, we almost passed out from the stench. It was so bad that we thought everyone would start throwing up. What made it worse was the sores under her breast. When the doctor started cleaning the area, we found a small hole from which cockroaches started crawling out. Mom's horrible hospital story. My mom once had a patient who weighed 227 kilograms, and she complained about a strange smell that everyone could smell. It turned out her vagina was in necrosis. Surgery was required, but unfortunately, it didn't save the woman, and she passed away shortly after. Unusual diagnoses and surgeries. I'll never forget a woman with vaginal cancer. When we removed all the affected organs, there was just an empty cavity left, and something was leaking from it. The woman was so devastated she begged her husband to leave her, thinking he would never love her again. But her husband was a true hero. He stayed by her side and supported her. Zhao. Equipment and hard-to-heal wounds. At one point in our work, we encountered a woman who weighed over 220 kilograms and had a massive ulcer. Necrotizing fasciitis had destroyed everything in the genital and buttock area. It led to fecal leakage, and in the end, she had no bladder or vagina left. We tried to flip her, literally stuffing gauze into the giant hole. In the end, she died of sepsis a few days later. About defects and unusual life cases. I'm not a gynecologist, but I once had a strange defect that I only discovered when I started using tampons. I had a septum that created 2 openings, and one tampon got stuck when I tried to pull it out from the other hole. It was excruciating, but luckily my mom was nearby and immediately took me to the doctor. Erat. The last story, a couple of years ago, one of my friends was an intern in gynecology. One day a girl came in, complaining she couldn't get pregnant, and also had constant diarrhea. It turned out her boyfriend had convinced her that getting pregnant through anal sex was easier than through the vagina.